I got the fam, I got the keys, I get to work. I ain't the man, you know what I'm saying, so leave it to me, cause I get it first, yeah. Woo, I've been going all day, man. Same plan, can't change that. Till I'm riding around, whole squad sitting back, chilling in the Maybach. Yeah, only as deep as your roots go. I don't do corny like fructose. If you got the drummer, that's word of my mama, I'll cover you up like a tombstone. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work, if you work and it's fun. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We can do, ayy, we coming up from the dirt, ayy. They trying to get us to fall, ayy. I don't even gotta flex now, boy, it's only win by the fall, ayy. Taking off with the ring, ain't nothing left, man. We the kings, ran with the team, ran with the dream, ran with the one fan in the seats. Ayy, I pay my dues, check the receipt. Looking at you, you already peaked. Way back then. You can't follow with my tracks, man. I was last in my past, now you see I'm the one. They say work, never work, if you work and it's fun. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team, on top where you find us. We can do anything, non-stop till our time's up. We on a winning team.
One step closer to bringing the field of 14 gladiators down to 9, with the Coliseum regarded as the fastest half mile on for the fight this evening. Live from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway and the last great Coliseum, we welcome you to the Bristol Bash presented by URP and the second race of the round of 14 in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series Playoffs. As always, glad that you're back with us on the KBueno Racing Network from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway. We're up atop the broadcast booth. My name is Kenneth Kenneth Bueno. We started the playoffs 1 week ago. From tonight, the Charlotte Motor Speedway had some drama, had some of the challenges presented to the playoff field winning for the title this year, and now we add on to the list of obstacles that these drivers need to face. Medium round inside the round of 14, the middle race. We'll have one more Pocono after this one, the tricky triangle, to close off the round to decide which 9 drivers are advancing into the next one. The next 2 races, obviously, all of them trying to get to the Homestead of Miami Speedway. And Charlotte was a very big test for a lot of the drivers. Started with the green flag. It was Garrett White and Dimitri Munjos at the front of the field. Garrett White and Dimitri Munjos, 2 drivers in very different places to start that race. And it was a very clean one up until about lap number 2. Then a big crash happening. Logan Tsuyi getting into contact with Hayes Booth. He goes up the racetrack. The most important thing in all of this, TJ Lair involved. Seth Warren in the 081 goes for a spill. He goes for a flip there on the inside of the pit road. It was Brayson Collins, playoff driver, involved in this one. He is mired back in the playoff picture. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. A huge hit for the 5 car, and then came a long run that lasted pretty much almost the entire race. Had some battles around second. That's Josh Patterson, Austin Duran, Sky McGurk, who had been in second for so long, and then Munjos, who had fallen back in that run. And then came problems for the number 82. McGurk, the rookie, gets into Brandon Sampson on the entrance to the pit road. Sampson gets hit in the rear end. Some damage for McGurk. He had to come in for some extra pit stops. Darren came in with about 20 laps to go, or rather 40 laps to go. Those were the leaders at the time, Garrett White and Austin Duran coming in, Munjo staying out. There's a second pit stop by the number 82, Sky McGurk. Then come the leaders on the pit road. A big race. Austin Duran hard on the brakes to get around the 26. Both of them with a great run out of the pit lane. They would be the 2 titans to fight near the end of this race. And then came the most pivotal caution. Around 7 laps to go. Brandon Stewart in the 021 goes for a spin, hits the apron. That's playoff driver Clayne Ramstead right there on the bottom. And Timmy Spatz right there on the left just barely gets away with some minimal damage. And as Stewart goes around, he brings out the caution. A couple of drivers stay out, including Josh Patterson, to hold on for the race win. But it would not last all that long. They head for the corner, turns 3 and 4. Here comes the 55. Here comes the 26. 3 wide for the lead, exiting turn 4 onto the white flag. And it would stay like this for roughly another half lap. Both of them door to door until Dimitri Munjos found a way to the back end. He makes contact with Austin Duran, the final charge into turn 3 and 4. And then Paul Granada gets into the 60. They go way up the track, leaving the last man standing, Garrett White, for his 3rd win of season number 2, his 7th career overall in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. And what's most important, it shoots him to the top of the board in the playoff standing. So a big one for the driver of the 26. He came into that race as the defending winner at Charlotte. He comes into tonight as the defending winner here from the last great Coliseum. Let's take a look at the point standings, how they all shuffle after the first race in Concord, North Carolina. Of course, with Garrett White at the top, no surprise. He is at P1 with 1,075 points. Josh Patterson, Austin Duran, great races put together by both of them last week. They're 2nd and 3rd in the standings. Gino Mayo drops to 4th, and he go all the way to the cut line, which is now sitting at 3 points. Dimitri Munjos, remember, had that 10-point penalty entering the playoffs at Myrtle Beach. He's now those 2 points shy of getting into the round of 9 list. James Bomar not too far behind at -3, then -8 for Ryan Martin. Collins for those issues on the opening handful of laps at Charlotte. He is -15, and then John Canizaro with the worst luck out of them all. I don't even think he ran Charlotte Motor Speedway last week, so he is now 22 points below the deficit. A lot of work for the OAC to do. We'll watch that cut line as it potentially moves throughout the time. So drivers are lined up behind the iRacing official pace truck. It means it's our time to take a look at your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and where your favorite playoff driver will be lining up from the fastest half mile in Bristol, Tennessee. On pole will be the driver defending his win from last season, Garrett White, fresh off the checkered flag at Charlotte. He's at the top of the playoff standings, at the top of the board, where we take the green with a 15.158. Diego Rodon, great qualifying effort for the number 72. He'll be on the outside in row number 1. Austin Duran in the 55 came off of a great race that almost took him out near the end as he made contact with Dimitri Munjos. Somehow finished well. He is at the top of the playoff leaderboard as well in the top 3. He starts 3rd. Joe Berge in the number 41 looking to gain some more points as he is 5th in the playoff standings. He is 4th when we drop the green tonight. John Canizaro looking to get behind the cut line and get over it. He is starting inside the top 5. Timmy Spatz in the number 54 alongside him in P6. Ryan Martin in the 9 will start 7th. Dimitri Mundros in the number 60 will round out the drivers through your top 8. Rookie Sky McGurk in the 82 looks to rebound after a troublesome Charlotte race. He starts 9th. Gino Mero in the 71 will be the last one inside your top 10. Then goes Caden Wright from the 97. Chase Marsden in the 89. The drivers 11th and 12th in row number 6. Tristan Rivers will be 13th. Brady Cox will be 14th at the start of this race, row number 7. Brandon Sampson and Brianna Lavin. I think first appearance for Brianna Lavin this season. So welcome to the number 74, starting 16th in this race. Ezekiel Reyes returns after Auto Club. He is 17th when we drop the green. Paul Granada, he will be 18th when we drop. Ryan Zabel will be 19th. Marcus Vanderlee will be the last driver inside your top 20. Henry Clapper, Brandon Stewart, 21st, 22nd, row number 11. Jeremy Cook, Crane Ramstead, 23rd, 24th. Cameron McCone and Brayson Collins in row number 13. Row number 14 will be James Beaumar on number 44. He is the last driver to take qualifying time. Then goes Jock Patterson, 28th. Logan Suyi, DJ Powell, and the number 61 of Steven Shipperman in his machine. He'll be the last driver in the 31 car field here from the Bristol Motor Speedway. So ready to go green with the driver holding 3 checkered flags on the season, 7 overall in his career, and looking to only catapult himself further into the round of 9 conversation. He has Diego Rodon to his outside. Green flag in the air. Troublesome run for the 26 into turn 1. That was a huge hiccup for White. I believe he might have missed the shift that shuffles Diego Rodon to the race lead as of lap number 1. Joe Berge in the 41 will follow suit in second. White falls to third. Austin Duran fourth. John Canizaro. Now first battle inside your top 5. How about 3 wide? Ryan Martin on the very inside. All of these drivers, playoff drivers, this time inside the top 6. And that was a big hiccup for the 26 of White. Luckily, he finds a way to settle himself through your top 3 at a breakaway. First battle now inside your top 4. Austin Duran in the 55. The Bright Sun Films Chevy Camaro now looking to the outside of Spatz. And for right now, no success, as I believe Joe Berge might be looking for the race lead. Indeed, he is. Playoff implications with the 41. Looking to the bottom of Roldan. Can't quite make the move, so he'll settle back in P2. You're right on board with the 41. Everybody practically holding that inside line. But what we're going to see as the night progresses, the sun will set here in Bristol, Tennessee. We'll see more drivers start to experiment and do what you're seeing out of the 018 and the 9 machine. They'll look for the middle. They'll go for the very high side. And that will give them the good runs out of the banking here at Bristol Motor Speedway. You have 24 to 28 degrees of banking inside the corner. So there's a lot of banking to work with, a lot of momentum that you can shift your way, and so we may see the lines change once the track cars start to cool down. Once those tires wear off a little less, you may see that happen. For right now, only a selective few running the top, and maybe just only one inside your top 10 or so. That is, of course, Ryan Martin in the 9 machine. Berge trying again. A look at the inside of Diego Roldan, but can't quite do it. Already some right rear damage on that high point number 72. This is a Chase Briscoe paint scheme. Ran a couple of years ago before, of course, making his entrance into the NASCAR Cup Series for Stewart-Haas Racing. And now here comes Ryan Martin to the inside. He switches track position. He'll look to the inside of the 55. Duran able to play some defense. And so most of the field, all single file throughout our first 9 laps. We go 150 laps here from the last great Coliseum. Just under 80 miles in total. So roughly around the same length that we would find at the short tracks around this calendar. We go 128.7 kilometers. We have 80 miles here. We usually go 80 laps on the 1.5 mile track. So pretty interesting here. And we're seeing a little bit less of a length, a little bit less of a distance, although we are going over 100 laps here at Bristol. Side-by-side battle for P4. That is Canizaro on the outside of Timmy Spatz looking to take away P4. It looks like that effort might be successful. And Spatz gets a little loose off the corner. He'll fall out until the 018 of Canizaro now up to P4. Canizaro in a very tricky situation. He is dead last in the playoff standings. We talked about it. 22 points to the deficit in the round of 9 if he wants to make it in by the time we wave the checkered flag from the tricky triangle at Pocono 1 week from tonight. So Canizaro has to do a lot of work, and it may not just involve passing cars on track. It might just have to be get a race win. 22 points is a lot. Of course, they have to spread it amongst 31 cars that are making this field tonight. So Canizaro has to do a lot, and missing one race in a playoff run can easily take you out of contention And even then, when you have 2 races, it makes it even worse. But even then, 3 race round, 1 mistake, 1 bad race, and especially the opening race of the playoffs, that could easily hurt you in a variety of ways. So Canizaro trying to work his way up to the field. Here's a look at Sky McGuirk, who went through some ups and many downs at Charlotte just 1 week ago. He has Gino Merrill looking to the inside. All of them highlighted in orange there on the top of their playoff banners. And of course, their splitters, their spoilers. So that's how you identify all the drivers running for the title in the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series. And last week at Charlotte, we saw a lot, and I mean a lot, of playoff drivers up at the front of the field as we have a battle for second. Garrett White looking for the outside here on Joe Berge, the 41. Looks like your pole sitter might take that spot away entering the corner. The 26 will have a good time entering the Geico restart zone. This is out of turn 4. We'll look for Diego Rodon for the race lead. But we saw a lot of drivers all in the playoffs, running at the front, occupying most of your top 5. And I believe we only had 1 non-playoff driver in the top 10 after Charlotte, which just shows you how good of a field this playoff group is, as Garrett White powers on the outside, and the pole sitter, despite the problems on the opening jump, takes the race lead, lap number 18. Looking on board the rear end of Joe Berge's Chevrolet Camaro, the TikTok machine. This is based off of a Ryan Vargas paint scheme that he ran a couple of years back. John Canizaro now looking to the outside of Rodon. Looks like Rodon on the inside struggling to keep pace with the playoff field. They're all starting to swarm him in heavy numbers. Timmy Spatz, Austin Duran, and you look even further back, Ryan Martin, Dimitri Mundros, Sky McGuirk, Gino Merrill. That's most of your top 10. So again, you're looking like the results here that we saw at Charlotte. All of the drivers in the playoffs. Doron strikes the outside wall, but makes that pass on Timmy Spatz. Unbelievable way for the Bright Sun Films Chevrolet to make that happen. And so Doron slides in at 5th, and he tags the outside wall again. That is going to be a problem we'll see over the long run. You have a lot of drivers that get a little too eager on the throttle. You feel like you can carry it more than not. And then by the time you realize you're in trouble, it's already too late. You end up smacking that outside wall, whether it's in the middle of the corner or whether it's off into the straightaways. And Austin Duran, despite having a lot of right side damage, is still very contentious at the front inside the top 5. So you got around Timmy Spatz for that position. There's Canizaro working his way around Rodon. So now next on the block will be that 55 of Duran. He'll look to the bottom, stay with that 72. And so most of the field rather single file as Garrett White looks to pull away at around half a second. And Garrett White, we saw him last season, put under fire in the last couple of laps, and I believe it was by that same driver that you see behind him in P2. Joe Berge close to the race win. And Berge doing a great job right now, settling in a second as Canizaro mans the high side, and he has yet to give that up. As he tries to pull away from Diego Rodon in the number 72. Looks like that effort also successful. And we're mostly single file around your top 10. Why don't we look to the midfield? Here's Ezekiel Reyes, Ryan Zabot going at it for P14. Ezekiel Reyes, a driver that we haven't seen, I believe, since Auto Club this season. So Reyes has been making some casual starts here and there, but nice to see the 62 back in action. And we'll just show you on the onboard how it is to ride around this Bristol Motor Speedway. He's not in traffic. He's just in a single file train. So a nice look, but caution flag out for the first time tonight. And it is Brandon Stewart. I believe Tristan Rivers in the 68 might also be involved. So we'll take a look and see exactly how this all started, but it appears that the 68 was in deep trouble. Got hit by Grant 11 in the 74, then goes to the outside of Ryan Zabot. So this was just behind Ezekiel Reyes in the 62. Slight contact. On around went Rivers. Nothing that Zabot could do to get out of the way. And a quick spin there, so no issues for Brandon Stewart after all. Was just slowing down for the wreck, but the 68 just got turned on the rear end. Here's a look on board. The driver of the 68, so you see a lot of space that does run out at some point as they're almost through wide. Zabot slides up the track, but that minuscule error is enough to send him sideways. Luckily, Rivers goes for a harmless spin. Doesn't look like any damage on that Toyota Supra, so Rivers will be able to continue. But at dropped track position, he falls to 24th out on the racetrack. So leaders in for pit road service. First time at lap number 29 of 150 here in the Bristol Bash presented by URP. So the 26 will go all the way around, and we'll wait for the pit stall. Of course, he's got the first one. He was the pole sitter tonight. Joe Berge already in for service. Actually, not rather in, so he was rating in. I believe he's blinking in and out, so it looked like on the timer screen that he was falling out, but it looks like we have one driver, maybe two, to stay out. Paul Granata, Josh Patterson, the two Toyotas, and they're going to stay out on the racetrack. Garrett White, everybody else, going to come in for 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. One thing that we see about this Bristol Motor Speedway, this is, I believe, a single lane, so with the whole field coming down pit road, you're going to end up with an entrance, I believe, into turn 2. You have to go all the way around to the entrance of turn 1 to find your pit stop if you're that very first one like the 26 is. And so it's a pretty interesting entry. You have to come in from the other side of the racetrack, and it takes a little while under pit road speed limit, so that delta could fall quickly. You'll fall maybe 1 or 2 laps down, and that definitely will punish you if you make any mistakes on the lane. And it looks like Garrett White will come out in P4. Had another driver stay out. That is the 34 of Henry Clapper. So while we're under caution for the first time at lap number 31 of 150 here in the Bristol Bash presented by URP, let's take a little look as to where we are specifically in the virtual world. We'll take a look at our KBRN track map and images provided to us, of course, by Google Earth. We head down to Bristol, Tennessee. First time you visit the fastest half mile in this WORC Dynamo Designs National Series season. It is 0.533 miles, 0.858 kilometers, opened back in 1961. And then we talk about the high banking that this track has. It feels more like a stadium than a racing surface. 24 to 28 degrees you'll find in the turns, 6 to 10 degrees on the straightaway. It's a high bank track, and it's not afraid to show the banking whatsoever. And that's why we're seeing a lot of drivers use different lanes for momentum. You can especially get a nice run on the outside if you play it right. And so for right now, we haven't seen that much experimentation at the top, but as the sun sets, we may end up seeing that happen more often. So lights are out on the iRacing official pace truck. We'll go green at lap number 33 of 150. Let's take a look at the weather before we go back to action here from Bristol. Track temp, pretty hot considering the air temp at 89 degrees, winds to the northwest at 7 to 8 miles an hour, no humidity, no fog. It's a mostly cloudy evening in sim. We should expect the sun to set by the time we wave the checkered, so we will be under the lights here in virtual Tennessee. And this time we will have the number 8 machine of Paul Granata leading the field back to the restart. Josh Patterson, defending series champion, on the outside. Truck is down, the 8 machine up and away, back under green in the Bristol Bash, presented by URP. And the question is, how long will it take for the fresh tire cars to overpower everybody on the outside? The question is, how long will it take? The answer is not that long. Garrett White shoots up the top. He goes around the O2 of Patterson. Will look on the outside of Paul Granata. They'll cram into the space. Heading out of the corner, the 26 will find a way up there. And Garrett White back to the race lead. Joe Berge to follow, and Cannizzaro in third. And look on board with the number 8 machine of Paul Granata falling back on those old tires. Here's Joe Berge looking to the inside for the race lead. First time we see Berge properly strike all night long, and White able to play that heavy defense to stay away from the rest of the competition. Now it opens the door up for John Cannizzaro, the 018, continuing to make progress up to the field, and Cannizzaro slides his way to second. Cannizzaro now with free reign to try and tackle Garrett White. Meanwhile, Dimitri Mundros, Austin Duran, they were going at it for P4, now going at it for 5th. Sky McGurk slides up in front, 55, tries to get the momentum off the corner, and can't quite do it, now entering turn 1. And now more drivers starting to experiment with that outside lane, Duran being one of them. Huge run out of the corner, won't make anything happen of it, so he'll stay behind the rookie driver in Sky McGurk. Here's Josh Patterson already falling back to 10th. Him and Paul Granata now 9th and 10th on the racetrack. And everybody practically pitting for fresh tires. Marsden down low. Same deal for Ryan Zabot. They should make quick work of the 02 and the 8. And now it's really a matter of how Patterson and Paul Granata can make this work, whether they're expecting another yellow coming down the line, or whether they just want to save a set of tires for the end of this race. It is going to matter more so for Patterson than it is for Granata, because the 8 machine can do whatever he wants. He can risk as much as possible, and if it doesn't go his way, then oh well. But for Patterson, he is inside the playoffs, so he needs to wonder how exactly this will work out in his favor. Now he needs this race to go if he wants fresh tire advantage, and if he wants to gain more track position as he continues to plummet through the field. Now drop him to 15th, almost 16th on the racetrack as Logan Tsuyu will look away to the inside. Also playoff driver near the rear of the field, picked up some damage as of late. That is the 9 machine, Ryan Martin. We saw him near the front of the field, tackling that outside groove when nobody else would. And now stuck in a pack, that's Brianna Lavin in the 74 underneath that DeWalt machine, and they're trying to slice their way through Paul Granada. It's been a very tough road and not a lot of space to maneuver here at Bristol Motor Speedway, but very smart selection by the 74 and the 9. They both work their way around. So Granada and Patterson gonna have to try all that they can to stay afloat. Hope they don't go a lap down if this race stays green. Cannizzaro is right on the back bumper of Garrett White last time around. 15.686 for the 018, 15.740 for the driver of the 26. So Cannizzaro is charging. He is on his way. He looks to the inside for the lead back to turn 3. No success out of Cannizzaro. Here's a battle for 9th. Ryan Zabot, Chase Marsden. Looks like both of them will settle out. Ryan Zabot makes that pass complete. P9. He'll retain on the racetrack, and we look back to the front. Garrett White still maintaining the race lead. This was one thing that Garrett White was able to do quite well in the playoffs last season. He went 3 in a row. Won the race at Bristol, kicked that all off, won the race at Talladega, then won the race at Iowa, and then won at Charlotte. So he's won a lot of the tracks that we'll see over the course of the calendar. Caution flag will wave, and I think multi-car accident, and it may be Brianna Lavin, 74 in trouble indeed, slow on the racetrack. I think Logan Tsuyi also had contact with that. Tsuyi looking to the inside of the pit lane. Some damage on the right side. Looks like possibly a harmless spin for both. See exactly what happened. Remember Ryan Martin around all of this as the playoff driver makes contact with Tsuyi, gets into him. And then Lavin nowhere to go. Lavin strikes the side of the 19, and the Poppy Bank Supra goes for a slight half spin. Both Supras, though, rather unscathed. So that's the good thing about the cautions we've seen this evening. Hasn't been race-ending damage, but obviously it definitely hurts to be involved in an incident. We'll see exactly what happens here. Huge run by Ryan Martin, and you'll see it going into turn 1. Martin looks to the outside. This is a run that easily builds up the past couple of corners. Right there, finds way to the top. I don't think Tsuyi was expecting it, and slightly makes contact, and then gets loose. Could not save the car after the second bit of contact from Lavin. And then Tsuyi makes that trip down to pit lane in the 19, now mired back in P28. So this is sort of a Brayson Collins saving grace as he's moved up to P18. And he also pitted quite recently as he's moved up to the front, or at least rather the mid-halfway portion of the field. Well, this is also a saving grace for the likes of Josh Patterson, Paul Granada. They both end up on pit road. They're going to be joined by a couple of others. Brianna Lavin, Ezekiel Reyes, Brendan Stewart, Henry Clappert. There's the 19 coming in for a stop right behind the defending series champion. And now that difference in tires is going to matter a lot. These drivers now on 21 lap, old set of Goodyear Eagles, and these guys will have fresh tires by a large margin. The only problem is the amount of cars that are going to be at the front, way more than the amount that stayed out the last caution. It was only 1 or 2, maybe 3 cars. You add in Henry Clappert, so that is 3 cars confirmed versus what's going to be probably more than 10 cars on the racetrack, or rather more than 20. Patterson's going to come out here with Paul Granada. He's going to be 23rd on the racetrack as it stands. We'll see if it shuffles anymore, but that is a lot of field to get around. If you're the driver of the 02 and even the 8, 2 drivers who did rather well at Charlotte and made a call on old tires the last handful of laps of the race to try their best to stay up front. Unfortunately, it did not work for either of them, but great positions put them in good spots near the end. Granada had a shot to win, got into contact with Munoz in 3 and 4. Patterson had gotten moved out of the way, of course, got passed by everybody on fresh tires, but still finished quite well, and that's the reason Patterson is so high up in the playoff standings. He's only roughly 9 spots, 9 points away from Garrett White in the playoff standings as of right now. So Patterson doing all that he can, and obviously this will hurt him quite dramatically with the entire playoff field at the front. We'll see if Patterson can make some work happen in the next restart with all the fresh tire advantage that he will have when we go back to green. . So again, glad that you're joining the show here on the KBueno Racing Network. We'll have our continuing coverage all the way to Homestead, Miami. On March 16, 2023, we'll decide our Season 2 WORC Dynamo Designs National Series champion. We have a comment down in the YouTube chat by Cole Williams, our good friend, and a driver that we used to broadcast a while back. He asks, why is Kenneth Bueno the best broadcaster of all time? I certainly appreciate it. I don't think I am the best broadcaster by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely do appreciate it. And I know we have a lot of great supporters for the KBueno Racing Network. We've had a lot of leagues, a lot of drivers support the work and support the broadcast, so we certainly do appreciate it. For all those watching tonight here at Bristol Motor Speedway, of course, we appreciate all the support, and we hope you stick around for the rest of this season as it progresses forward with our coverage. Green flag back in the air, lap number 54 of 150. It is Garrett White in the 26 up to the front of the field. A good start. Now battle for second underway. Canizaro manning the outside on the fellow Ford Mustang on Munjos down low. Canizaro makes that pass complete. He settles in his second. Berge under fire now as he looks for Munjos. He was under fire from Timmy Spatz, but now here comes Sky McGurk. He looks to the bottom. They all single file through. And it's mostly plateaued for a lot of these guys. Fifth, Timmy Spatz. Sixth, Sky McGurk. Both of them have been rather in the same spot. Caution flag is out again. I'll try to see who might have been involved. There's a look at Chase Marsden on the pit lane, but I'm not sure whether he was in trouble. I think it might have been Ryan Zabot, and indeed, possibly the case. Front clip damage and front clip completely torn off of the 10 car. We'll watch exactly how it all began. This is around Brady Cox in the 86. Oh, Cox just gets loose, slides up into the 10, and a hard hit to the outside wall, and Cox just gets grabbed by the outside safer barrier. And that is an ugly hit. One more time. Cox looking to the inside of Zabot. It almost makes this move happen, but then it gets a little loose, overcorrects, runs out of space, and the wall just grabs the 86 and throws him backwards. And the 10, Ryan Zabot, with all that damage he picked up, he went for a spin as well. And that sends them both to the pit lane. Cox still somehow on the racetrack. He's got enough power. Zabot has entered the pit lane. It looks like he has towed the race car, so Zabot's night might be over early here at lap number 57 of 150. We don't have fast repairs here in this series, so whatever damage you get, you have to spend that time on pit road. That amount of damage, though, might just be race ending, so tough break there for the driver of the 10 who was having such a solid run up until this point. That's Brendan Stewart, driver getting the wave around this time through. So that leaves us with 29 cars on the lead lap out of the 31 that registered. Fortunately, we had nobody miss the green flag. We've had that a couple of times this season where we have a higher field count, but then all of a sudden it dwindles by maybe one or two, just depending on drivers who have a little bit of trouble officially fully registering into the session or just can't make the green flag or have connectivity issues. You name it, a lot of things that can happen in between the time of practice start and the time of the green flag, or even qualifying for that matter. But luckily enough, we have everybody, all 31 starters here this evening, and Brady Cox finally going to come in for pit road service. He is joined also by Chase Marsden and, of course, the aforementioned Ryan Zabot in the 10. So caution out once again here tonight from the virtual Bristol Motor Speedway in the Bristol Bash presented by URP. We'll shortly remind you that coverage of the WORC Dynamo Designs National Series is brought to you by Dynamo Designs, your one-stop shop for all of your iRacing design needs. They can cater to any style you like and can ensure you will look good on track, all starting at just $5 per scheme. You can message Josh Patterson on Discord at Josh Patterson #9212 or on Facebook at JP Designs to get your iRacing scheme today. Here's Brayson Collins, driver sitting -15 going into tonight's race from Bristol. He has since moved up to the 15th spot on the racetrack, so slow but sure progress for the 5. A driver who got involved in an incident out of turn 4, the opening 4 laps of our race 1 week ago from Charlotte. Of course, looking to rebound. Collins wanting to make a very deep run, much like his good friend Josh Patterson, who went all the way last season. But they are all trying to catch Garrett White in the number 26. He has been on fire as of late, and looking to keep that fire burning rather, as Canizaro will be on the inside. In row number 1, we'll have Joe Berge, Dimitri Munjos following suit in 3rd and 4th. Top 5 occupied by rookie drivers Sky McGurk, Timmy Spatz, 6th. 7th will go to Gino Merrill. 8th to Austin Duran. 9th to the driver of the 97, Caden Rife, and Ryan Martin, the last driver in your current top 10. Field enters the Geico restart zone. Slow start by Canizaro and company, but green flag back in the air. And the Bristol Bash presented by URP. White underway. He'll be able to lead by a couple of car lengths. Joe Berge looking to attack for second, but same deal for Dimitri Munjos finding way to third. And here's Berge to the outside for P2 to turn 1. Berge looks like will potentially make quick work of Canizaro on the outside. We look at how powerful that outside could be if you run it correctly. And Canizaro relinquishes that spot. He falls to third. Now blocks the outside line. Smart decision by the 018. Sky McGurk. Dimitri Munjos looking to travel up there to make a pass. And they can't quite do it. Munjos now looking to the very inside for track position. And we'll have to back out Sky McGurk with a big run and almost contact between the two coming out of the corner that was heading for turn 3. But now, McGurk will finally find some space on the outside. This battle developing for P4. Oh, and contact between McGurk and Munjos. They almost about go around. At least McGurk did. Luckily, they're able to save it. That could have been hugely catastrophic for both of them. And they're going to allow Gino Mero and Austin Duran to catch up lap 65 as Garrett White pulls away by 0.3 of a second. There's a look on board the 26, how far he's got until the driver in second in Joe Berge. Here's a battle inside your top 9. Ryan Martin, who was in the midfield, still with a lot of that rear end damage affecting the spoiler. It really isn't affecting the speed all that much as he gets around the 72, the driver who started up front. And he's going to look to Timmy Spatz in the number 54, next driver in line. And all of these drivers, playoff drivers, so pretty much everybody 1st through 9th, all of them running for the title this season. And again, just shows you how powerful this field is, highlighted in orange. And here's Austin Duran looking to the inside for what is going to be P6 on Gino Mero. Can't complete the pass. And that's the one thing we see a lot here at Bristol Motor Speedway. When you have a long line of cars like this, if you run the very bottom, you cannot get the runs off of the banking and off out of the corners. So you'll have that issue where you try to make a move on the inside. All of a sudden, instead of gaining a spot, or even instead of just leveling out to where you were before you tried that pass, you drop 1 spot, you drop 2 spots, you drop 3, maybe 4, maybe 5. If you get pummeled by this entire outside line, it can just get runs after run after run on that second groove. And Duran, after that attempted pass on Gino Mero for what would have been P6, Duran falls back to 9th in a fight with Ryan Martin in the 9 car. So Martin will power his way around the outside. Timmy Spatz will look in front of him. Now Diego Rodon, Josh Patterson in this group as well. Remember, Patterson under fresh tire power. He's got the aid of Paul Granada in this group as well. Paul Granada mired back in 19th, so not as much progress, but for your defending series champion, Patterson trying all that he can to puncture his way into the top 10 and use these tires for good. Here's completely blocked though on both lanes. Spatz though trapped on the bottom. Duran finds some space to settle on the high side. He's going to be now falling back to P9, or rather P8 on the racetrack. Patterson takes over 9th. And now it's all about how they can use this outside. Patterson on the fresh tires could use that bottom, but it's only limited time before they completely run out. Before Patterson can't quite make those moves any longer, as the gap has opened up for the race lead. Garrett White now by 0.9 of a second to the driver in second, Joe Berge. And I said a little bit earlier on, these were the two that were going at it for the win. Last time we were at Bristol, where I've confirmed my suspicions, I confirmed my memory. These two were the drivers at the front. Of course, Garrett White in a Toyota Supra that time by. Joe Berge in a completely different number. Also in a Toyota, instead of the 41, he was the 83. And it was just a great battle all the way to the end in the final handful of laps. But obviously, what we're seeing right now is somewhat how the results turned out. Garrett White just able to pull away in the last handful of laps. Berge couldn't quite do anything, and now lead up to 1.1 seconds for Garrett White in the 26. So A lot of clean air. We may see lap traffic come into factor as we have a huge battle inside the top 10. Josh Patterson on the fresh tires try to look underneath the 55 of Austin Doran, maybe even a little bit under Ryan Martin, and now he's under fire from Diego Rodon. All of these drivers packing it up in the middle of the corner. Martin going to hit the outside wall. He gets a run in the outside of Dimitri Mundros, and somehow the Night Machine enters the top 5. Doran going to follow suit now. Mundros trapped on the inside. Here comes Patterson with the look up top. Roldan holding that very bottom. Mundros falls back to what's going to be P7 on the track. And now here comes Patterson, the 0-2, diving to the inside. A huge slide on the 55 of Doran. It's somehow going to work. Patterson up to P6. And that's a move that can only happen a couple of times on fresh tires before you completely wear off that right front. And instead of making a pass complete, you end up into the outside wall. Patterson using all that he can right now. And a little bit of clean track before he gets to Ryan Martin next in line in P5. And what I was about to mention is Diego Rodon goes to the inside of Austin Doran for position. It's going to be for P7 entering turn 3. We're going to experience lap traffic. Right now you don't see a lot of it outside of the front windshield of the 26. There was one of them, I believe that was James Bomar in the 44. Indeed it was, going one lap down. Bomar, a playoff driver. You see him heavily damaged on the rear end. It looks like his pace way off the rest of the field. So Bomar in trouble as an orange bannered car. But we're going to see that a lot. If we get into a long green flag run for the rest of this race, even for the next 70 that we'll see, we're going to see lap traffic become a factor. And if Garrett White closes up on the midfield, it's only going to get tougher and tougher to get around the competition. Another playoff driver might be at risk of being put one lap down. This time it's Brayson Collins. Remember, we saw Collins inside the top 15. He has since plummeted to 27th on the racetrack. And so Collins gives way to the 26. He's the next lap car in mind as the rest of the field goes around the 44. Watch this, 3 wide, getting around Bomar. That is Martin looking to the inside of Sky McGurk. That is for P4 on the racetrack. Oh, and Cannizzaro slowing down. Is he going for pit road? Yes, he is. The 018 coming in as these drivers reach 56 laps on a stint. I think another driver following suit with the 018, but an early pit call by Cannizzaro. And now we'll look to see what the rest of the field does. Here comes some more drivers. Martin gets hit on the way in. He'll be able to find a way to slow down before it all gets more chaotic. Clayton Ramsey there to follow. And that was slight contact. We'll try to officially identify who that driver was. There's Jeremy Cook on a pit road. There's a look at Martin going around. Gramstead hitting his box. And I believe, I'm not exactly sure who that might have been. We'll try and identify it fully for you. There's Austin Doran heading for the pit lane. Looks like Tristan Rivers there to follow. Tristan Rivers is actually around. Caution out. Lap number 89. And this is as a lot of playoff drivers are coming for the pit lane. Garrett White fortunately staying out. But the caution flag out once again, and for the second time this evening. It's with the 68 of Tristan Rivers. This is around a huge pack of cars, roughly 5 or so. That's Dimitri Mundros, Ezekiel Reyes, Paul Granada, DJ Powell, and Rivers. On the backside of all of this, we'll see if there was any contact. That's Reyes hitting the outside wall, and I'm not sure whether 68 just lost it. Actually, no, got into the 31 of Powell. And then Powell just comes right back up the track, slams into the 68, and so more damage assessed to Rivers. Unlucky night here for Bristol. You see the good run that he gets out of the corner, and by that time, it's hard to ignore. Still on the throttle, you don't think that that car's going to check up as much as it did, and that the momentum will be so different between the two cars, and Rivers goes for that slight slide, and so he will head for pit road. That will push your leaders down for the pit lane as well. Garrett White in the 26 going to lead them all in. Diego Roldan will go for second. Of course, it's all shifting because of that long line for the pit lane coming out, so we will see the drivers behind this 26, Berge and company, come out most likely second, third, fourth, fifth. Of course, if they don't make any crucial mistakes. So as we head for the final 50 laps here in the Bristol Bash, presented by URP, the 26th heading for the pit lane. Jack's up on the right side. Jax will be up on the left side this time through. We'll see the 41 and company go around. That's Josh Patterson also coming for pit road. Looks like he might escape second. Indeed he will. Brandon Sampson will follow suit next to him. And where's the 41 of all of this? Nowhere to be found, as Brayson Collins is going to be the sole driver to stay out this time through.